Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
All right, we're going to get started. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I don't think he's still here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February 15th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Our prayer for today is Proverbs 9, 11, and 12. Wisdom will multiply your days and add years to your life. If you will become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you will be the one to suffer.
I'm going to live forever.
I'm glad you were paying attention, Mr. Cortez.
Occasionally.
And Commissioner Kalo has a great big girl for
There we go. Our dog today, mix, female. Hi there. Oh, you're beautiful. Look at you. She's actually adoptable now. She's been available since February 7th. I know sometimes it's a little bit hard to adopt a bigger, a little bit older dog. She's not a pup, but she's got a great personality, make a great dog for your family. How many dogs do we have total? 22. We have 22, so that's a great thing. We're down a little bit, but why don't you stop by? It looks like this girl could use a home, and she's got a great personality. Come here.
She's gonna do it again.
Come on.
We need donations of good dog food at the kennel.
We do. We get all donated dog food at the kennel. That's right. Madam Clerk?
Under Resolutions Number 1, Investments,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Appropriations,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Transfers,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Travel,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Bills,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I do have a few issues I wish to discuss with the board in executive session. Potential hire at the collection center. Also, ongoing labor negotiations with the United Auto Workers and United Steel Workers. I'm working on a potential sale and a potential purchase of real estate. Unless council has them, I don't have any legal matters. Those subjects are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussion, so I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session to discuss those matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of February 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Issuance of not to exceed $5 million courthouse renovation project bond anticipation notes for purpose of paying part of the cost of renovating the county courthouse together with all necessary appetances thereto.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
It's nice to see the earth-moving equipment buzzing around yesterday, filling in where we
Well,
took care of the foundation.
I threatened to go out there and do it myself. I don't like things that stall, as you well know. I have an intolerance for it. As we explained earlier, we were doing real good, and then we found out that the waterproofing polymers that we were going to use wouldn't adhere to part of the basement structure, and they wouldn't make the guarantee. So clearly, we were not going to continue on with that application without a significant warranty and a guarantee that we were going to have a impermeable membrane around the courthouse. So we had to switch up and find something different. And after testing a different application, and we worked it out successfully. So we were able to apply that and then do a wrap on the building. The backfill that you see with the Riverstone, that's going to be what's there. There's not going to be dirt on top of that. That's going to aid in the drainage. I discussed this at length with the engineers. As you know, we had a lot of heavy landscaping up there. It wasn't really sloped right. It kept the moisture up around the building. There may be some decorative plantings. I'm not really sure. Commissioner Cable has some concerns with the transformer there and how it detracts from the courthougse. I do listen to you occasionally, Commissioner.
Occasionally, yeah.
So I'm going to be working on that issue, blending in. I actually think I want to take some of the fieldstone that we have. I should say sandstone. It's not really fieldstone. If we have enough from the wall we're going to make in the back, maybe I want to make some panels out of that, and then we can put like an L shape or something around that.
Right. If
if there's enough sandstone left, because we really want sandstone that matches from the building. So I have a couple ideas how to deaden the look on that. That'll really aid.
This side of the building, which would be the east side when you're coming down middle.
We have a
there's
big transformer.
transformer right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You know, the green ugly transformer.
You never really notice it because it blended in with all the ugly
Well,
landscaping.
the trees, right, you didn't see it. Now it just sits there like a monument to Ohio Edison, but,
They have
The,
those big rock-looking things that you could put over top of those.
or anything that would
I
decorate.
have a couple ideas I'll be bringing to you. We have time on that
Right.
piece, but I do need to deal with that. I think the rock around the building, it'll look good. It'll stop debris and things from collecting around the building. It'll aid in the drainage. So if people think that we're going to have all that landscaping back there, we're not going to. Now, with regard to the issuance of the $5 million in notes, when we award the bids, I plan on having a more extensive conversation with regard to the additional work we've decided to do with the courthouse. When we started this project, we were at a budget of about $3.6 to $3.8 million, and then we added some stuff, so we were looking close to $4 million. But we haven't really discussed the fact that we added the whole third floor now.
Right.
And it came to our attention that if we didn't build out, it was only a partial, and it really wasn't a floor, it was more like an old balcony area that they were using, wasn't built correctly. If we didn't do a build out on the third floor and finish the third floor during this renovation, they would never be able to do it until they completely renovated the building again. Now, people are going to go, well, that don't sound right. It has to do with the structure of this very old building and how it was built. The attachments to the wall, the materials that got to be used, and retrofitting it would have been almost impossible without destroying the whole renovation. And we had comprehensive conversations with the engineers and the architects over that, and then I talked to all of you, and it was felt that while it was very expensive to do that today, we needed to do that so that 20 or 30 years from now, they didn't run out of space, and we have the same situation we have today. So it added quite a few of offices and some training area. I don't think that's going to be occupied too early. I'm hopeful that this will take the adult probation department at least 20 years down the road, and then they can look at issues after that, what they need to do. Recognizing I anticipate additional space in the Justice Center being available in 20, 25 years. That's about the time. We'll be in that time frame that we initially understood that build-outs on the fifth floor may start occurring. So they may put PSI in there. PSI works with a little different clientele than the probation does, and they have a little bit closer relation with the court when they do the pre-sentence investigation and so forth. But there'll be options. But my goal on behalf of you was to get the building usable for the next 20 years, give it a service life of at least another 50 years.
That was the intent, the
Right.
exterior work, taking care of the water issues, you know, all the drainage.
Well, that wasn't in
around
the
it.
original work.
Right.
The
Things we find as we open up old buildings.
Well, upon sampling and doing some sample excavations, we determined that and as I suspected, there was never any drainage. Back in those days, they just put big blocks in, but remember that basement wasn't made to be an occupied space,
Right.
and earlier renovations renovated it to do that, but we had extensive problems with the walls and everything going on down there, and so we'll talk more about that when we award the bids, and we'll go over some of the items we had. This issuance is a little larger than we anticipated, but I'm pleased that the project is moving forward, and it's going to be really, really great.
And it went out for bid yesterday.
I believe that's when it went out. It could have went out last week. I actually didn't.
No, I asked Karen, she said yesterday.
I actually didn't read the resolution correctly. The resolution rejecting the bids, I believe, was to also authorize the rebid, and I read half of it. You know, you read, okay, let's get it on the agenda, and I kind of lost a week, and I'm a little annoyed at myself. I would have preferred to be out and getting the bids last week. I'm also hopeful that we get more aggressive bidding. The weather's changing. We're at the beginning. We'll be at the beginning of the season when we award this, so we may see a little bit more aggressiveness in the bids. People think bidding in the winter is the best time, but some of the mobilization problems in the winter also actually increase your cost. And then we would have had to do more heating because the building's going to be open. So I think you're going to see some activity. It'll slow now for a few weeks while we're waiting for the bids to come in. But we're going to keep moving. And with regard to something Commissioner Kalo brought up, and he just mentioned it to me, I have contacted Elyria. You know, the turning lane on 3rd Street's going to come out, and we're going to move the property out to 3rd Street, which will give a really nice streetscape down 3rd Street. It's going to be really beautiful. Right now it's kind of jagged, and we're going to use similar to stuff. You come down the Justice Center here. We're working with Elyria to change out our old lights. Now, we power those out there. They're not on the Elyria grid, but I have worked with them and agreed if they provide the fixtures and use our anchorings, that we'll use the similar fixtures coming right down the streetscape, even though we power that up and we're not on the city grid. That'll give a very seamless look. At least the north side of 3rd Street will be very, very nice, and hopefully they'll do something to start working on the south side eventually. And that'll really blend in well with Middle Avenue. But as you brought up, they did really nice work on Middle Avenue. I'm always concerned about that bike lane and the turns. I'm gonna, you know, people forget to look that there's a bike lane over there when they're making those right turns. But they didn't put any bus lanes in the development of that.
No curb cuts. They seem to get forgotten sometimes, and I know we have limited bus service, but somewhere in the future, I hope we could improve that.
Well, you know
There's
what?
no curb cuts,
Right.
and we're just stopping in the middle of the road for traffic. And I know everything we look at NOACA, we talk about those things, but they don't necessarily always end up in practical application.
Yeah, the only thing I would suggest on Middle Avenue is that they really didn't move any sidewalks and curbs back.
Right.
So putting a curb cut in would have probably been challenging. The bike lanes, they actually just took a lane out and widened it a little bit and then put the bike lanes in. But here they're actually losing a whole lane, and I have spoken with them about the potential to put a cut into the 3rd Street at the back of the courthouse there, which could be incorporated very decoratively, and it'll meet the streetscape and possibly put a bus cut lane in there. They said they would take a look at it, but they thought the engineering was complete on that, so I really don't know. But it has been floated, the potential to do that.
Thank you.
If they already have engineered and gone out to bid, I really don't know how far their process has gone. It may be a little late for them to do that. But I'm gonna push and see if we can't get that. We probably won't use it now, but it'll be, as you said, it'll be there for the future, and we really need to think about putting those in if we're ever gonna be able to support transit in the future.
Right. In the denser areas, you know, just not slow down traffic. You know, the downtown area has, you know, relatively heavy traffic, and if you can pull it off to the side or dedicate, then I think it makes it easier for people getting on and off the bus also.
Okay.
Even possibly for the juror bus, if we were able to ever bring that back.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Willis?
Get a lot of complaints in the wintertime about people having to
Yeah.
walk from,
Washington.
Well,
Yeah.
the juror problem is the shuttle bus really wasn't the solution. It was very awkward and very costly. You never know when jurors are going to get out, when they're not going to get out. We did solve I thought we solved the juror problem by giving the lot adjacent to the Justice Center to the courts to monitor, but my understanding is that they've dedicated that to the grand jury for the most part to
But
park.
actually, I've been dealing with that for the past week and a half with issues where just public parking has become there because the arm's been removed under the last court administrator, apparently. Arms were removed, we don't put the spikes up anymore, they don't give pucks out to the people now, they just give yellow tags.
I can't speak to the administration of the parking lot. I only speak to the fact that we gave them a parking lot.
So, as my suggestion was to the judges, was maybe have a deputy there from 7:30 to 9 in the morning for the grand jury parking on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the people with the yellow placards, and/or Karen Davis suggested an auxiliary sheriff's deputy to police at 7:39, so there aren't employees parking there or attorneys when grand juries are in session.
Well, let's go back, wind the reel back a bit. We originally thought that we could rent space in that parking lot to
That was the
to the
starting
attorneys.
point.
Everybody was all gung-ho, they were going to want to rent a spot because there was no place to park. How well did that go?
It didn't go, that's how it ended up being grand jury parking after.
And then we thought we'd use it for jury parking. Also, and it really got orphaned, we also gave them the parking lot adjacent to the adult probation department when we weren't using it, and it never got used.
Right.
So I'm glad it never got used because we were able to get and start using it for the adult probation folks. I always thought that walk was a little bit nicer than the walk from Washington Avenue. Well, I think the distances are similar, but at least you were coming through the downtown area. We have to solve the parking problem. I will submit to you that if you go down to Cleveland and you look around and you talk about parking and jury duty and going to the courts, it's a lot worse and a lot more expensive than Elyria in our courts. I have worked looking at every property available that would make sense to the Justice Center and to the admin building for parking. There's been no relief in that. I don't see relief coming anytime in the future without a significant expense. A lot of people don't like parking garages. They think surface parking is the way to go. Initially, parking decks are more expensive, but surface parking over 20 or 30 years ends up being actually more expensive than parking garages, and you don't get as much productivity out of the same size lots.
Not the volume, you don't get the volume.
Well, that's productivity. But they also, the maintenance, realizing that we have a significant amount of problems with this garage because it's well past its service life. It was installed in 1972. You can do the math on that. And it really, for the first 25 or 30 years, wasn't properly maintained. So to come back in and try to do a lot of things on it, it was pretty well past its prime. Most parking decks will last 30 to 40 years with proper maintenance, maybe a little further. But you see them around. You see them in old hospitals and different facilities. They're usually taken down eventually, and then they're rebuilt. We have a significant looming problem with ours. I'm going to bring a structural engineer in. I'm concerned that we have to close the top deck of the garage eventually and just keep that closed off. I don't want to face that problem today or anytime soon, but it is a problem that's there. And I'll keep looking for opportunities with regard to parking for the Justice Center and the jurors. But right now, I just don't see a good way out of this. We really should have thought about putting in a parking deck in conjunction with Elyria back when we both did our buildings. There was some initial conversation, but it never really got traction, and we may have missed an opportunity there. But the jury parking is not going to be resolved anytime soon, Commissioner, and the shuttle buses were just prohibitive.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Authorize payment of $1,000 to Rich J. Ridey Funeral Home, Lorain, for indigent veteran Miguel A. Camacho Jr. in Lorain in accordance with the ORC 5901.25.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Community Development, amend Resolution 16517, adopted August 17, 2016, awarding contract to the lowest and responsible bidder in amount not to exceed $142,470, which included contingency of $7,000 for the Amherst Parking Facilities Improvement Project. This amendment is to reflect the additional amount of $3,808 to increase contract not to exceed $146,278 for Infinity Paving.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Job and Family advertised bids for JFS roof replacement, notice to be in the Chronicle on February 17th and 24th. Pre-bid at 9 a.m. on March 7th at the site and open at 2 p.m. on March 16th.
So moved.
Second.
Just for informational purposes, we will pay for this roof. We're going to bond all the repairs to Job and Family Services. The last renovation of the building was 20 years ago. When it was first opened, probably about 22 years ago now.
Yeah, somebody was out there protesting, if I remember right.
Yeah, I thought Mr. Lundy was out there with an A sign on, walking up and down the sidewalk.
For sale on a Sunday afternoon.
Well,
They
they
didn't
bought
do a
him
good
from a
job of
public
that,
building.
did
They wouldn't let him in the building. I remember the crisis at the time. It consumed all our attention that this man wanted to get into a public
Yeah,
building.
no, yeah. What a rabble rouser.
You can come over anytime you want now.
Thank you. I hope I could get in the building.
But I think that was the first time you ran for commissioner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. The roof is really large. We've been patching it off and on. We probably could have got a couple more years out of it, but our bond was up for the payment of the building that the state was paying on. We're not allowed to do the revolving Job and Family Services issue anymore. A lot of counties got several buildings by moving their JSFs into different buildings and renovating them and then moving them on in 20 years, even as short as 15 years. They don't allow that anymore, but what they will do is allow us to do capital improvements in the existing structure, and then they'll, over time, through rent payments, pay us back the cost of what it costs us on the notes to do that capital improvement. If we don't do that, they just don't pay us as much money back, and the building deteriorates. So I work with Mary Lou and Jeff King in particular to make sure that we lock this up tight. The last thing we want to do is all this work and not get recover the cost. We're in a good position with the state. I have documentation about what we can do and not do. So it's a good time to replace the roof, even though it's not yet failing to a degree where I'm hugely concerned with it. We've had some issues. If we were paying for it, I'd probably stretch it out a couple more years because the general fund has been ailing for a while. And on top of this, you'll see other things coming through like HVAC and things like that. I had a problem with the HVAC purchases. I was really annoyed about it. It was like 22 rooftop units, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, 22 units? Well, when they redid the building, they just dropped the rooftop everywhere up there. Right. You know, any place to do zones in the building. Really, if it had been done correctly, you would have put 2 or 3 big units in to supply and then zoned the building in 3 pieces. Drops your maintenance costs, your filter costs, all of those things. I really didn't realize there was 21 or 22 units up there. I wasn't involved in the renovation of that building, although I was here. I was working in a different capacity. There's no excuse for having 21 or 22 units on top of the roof. But it is what it is. I did ask the question. I did send the facilities director back to Train, and Train's the one that's on the state term for the equipment. Can we consolidate some of these units? And their answer was, you can do anything you want, I'm going to pay for it. But the building wasn't reconstructed such that you can combine those units. They saved money on the front end by not putting in a lot of ducting, and they lost on the back end through continued maintenance and repair of massive amount of units. The building's huge, but it's not that big to have that many units. Bad design, bad rebuild. But we're stuck with it, like we are stuck with a lot of things. So you'll be seeing that stuff come through too. And the parking lot work and the drainage work, we talked about drainage on the courthouse. They never dug that building out. They never put the proper drainage around the footer tile. You guys weren't here when they were caulking up the bottom of windows because the water was flowing under the windows. It was really not properly done. And then, of course, when they redid the front, they brought the windows all the way down to the ground. So when the water rose, it just seeped under the frames of the window. Their answer at that time was to caulk the window when the water came up and try to keep it out like a pool. No, again, not sufficiently done. We did solve the water problem in the back of the building coming off. If you go behind that building, we're sitting in a low spot. And the land adjacent in the back to the employee parking lot had a home on it that was taken down, but it's always got water in it. The old movie theater is way up high, and we were forever taking water off that. So they didn't design the drains in the back correctly when they renovated the building, and it was an ongoing problem. And twice I thought we had some kind of resolution to that, only to have more flooding in the back of the building. So a few years ago, we went in there and we dug that whole thing out and put a huge drain tile in there and increased the swale area to take a lot of that water out. We haven't had any real flooding problems since then, but the front is still bad. So when we were redoing the parking lot, I had the engineers look at taking all of that out. We're going to put drain tile from the building, away from the building, in the parking lot, into drains in the parking lot, then out to the storm drains, so that we're draining away. Right now, they're just trying to percolate the water, and it's not enough to be able to percolate that around the building, and we're going to take that all the way around as far as we can, in conjunction with the rebuild of the parking lot. So we'll have some difficulty there, but at the end of the day, it'll be done right. I will say this, and I don't want people to get mad, but sometimes you got to spend some money now, so you don't have all the headaches and expense later. And trying to save $2 and doing it wrong is not the answer. And so better we don't do it and we wait until we have the money than we do it and it's garbage. So hopefully all of the potential drainage problems will solved on this once we get it all completed.
And we got more stuff in the future with the jail and just the lingering
Well,
maintenance
I met
issues.
with the jail folks and I've separated their list into 3 different sections. We're working on their capital right now. There's some other issues that I need to meet with them on, but we're working on the HVA units, and we're going to be working on some roof issues. There's some cooling units for the kitchen, the walk-ins and things that need repairing, some showers. I always liken it to that movie about the guy in Alcatraz when he pokes the concrete and you can put his finger through it. We're not too far from that. So we are working with the jail, and we have been getting things underway over there. I know that was a priority for the commissioners after the tax.
Especially the locks and the doors.
I think the lock systems probably needs a complete renovation and overhaul. They have. I don't want people to think bad of those folks out there. They've been getting parts, I think, off of eBay for these locks. They really have gone to extraordinary lengths to keep those locking mechanisms working. But my understanding is they're obsolete, and so that's going to be a very costly thing to do, but it needs to be done. And you'll be getting more of this over the next few weeks. But I did talk with Jack and his folks and go through some of the priorities. And there's going to be a few more coming in the back end. They've been really reasonable. I want you to tell you, they're not looking.
No.
They're looking to take care of immediate needs that we know have not been addressed, and we've talked about them over the years. And make sure the environment stays safe. And after the locks is their antiquated video. They need that video to move prisoners around. They need that video to keep the correction officers safe. And I'm not saying they're unsafe right now, but they're having problems where it goes out, the resolution drops. It's very old equipment. And again, they've kept it together. So I'll be bringing that back to you too.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Under the engineer, consent legislation with ODOT for the replacement of Kirk Street Bridge TR 165 over Black River in the Scranton town.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Approve and enter a subdividers agreement with Columbia Northwest Properties LLC, Rich Barron Developer for the Hunting Meadows Subdivision Number 2 off Snell Road in Columbia Township.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I got your message.
Did you get my message on both of those? On the one prior to this, as Mr. Kleiber explained to me, we basically get he's here? Well,
No.
we get a free bridge, right?
Yeah, it's under the ODOT Bridge Partnership Program.
I like partnerships that give us free.
5 of those around the county in the various works.
So we're going to end up eventually with 5 free bridges?
Yeah, Parsons Road and another one that escapes me is already in the ground.
Okay.
So that's fine.
That was great news, because usually you have to do about a 20% match on this, right? Some, whatever
10,
formula,
9%.
10? Commissioner Kokoski had questioned me on this, and I got the answer, and I left her a message late last night. I said, I don't completely understand it, but it's a free bridge, so I'm thinking that's all right.
No,
with
not
you.
that one. I
No,
was
she's
talking
talking
about
about
the
Rich
Barron.
Barron.
Oh, I was talking about the bridge first,
Yeah.
and then we met yesterday. I'm very comfortable with what we're doing out there
Okay.
and moving forward. Had a very productive meeting.
More growth in Columbia Township.
There's going to be a lot of growth in Columbia Township. We're working through some issues. I feel sorry for the trustees out there right now. They're really taking a significant beating by the residents, and they're trying to manage their community as best they can. You can't you can't stop growth. You can't beat growth. You have to try to control it through good land use planning and management. But
And
that
we're helping them with that.
we are, but that requires compromises by everybody. Not just the people who own land that want to see value in their land, but by the residents that go out there. They go out there, they think that forever nothing's going to develop around them, and then they want to limit the development potential of everybody else's land. It's not going to work in Columbia Township like this. And I will tell you, the trustees are working very hard out there trying to figure out how to please everybody. And right now they're not pleasing anybody, and they're getting crunched from all sides. I'm pretty proud of those guys and the work that they're trying to do. They have not adopted the land use program yet that we work with them on. I know that there's been some concerns. It's over with the zoning folks right now. I'm hoping to go forward with that because I want to redo the master sewer plan for Columbia Township. But there's a lot of things that are probably going to be decided in litigation rather than by legislation from the Board of Trustees. That's unfortunate, but the development is coming, and it's not going to stop in Columbia Township.
I've enjoyed working with the trustees over there, and I used to be the state rep for that area, and I think they have a good leadership team. I know they work very well with the county. We've been trying to help them with their growth challenges that are taking place, and I remember being on Avon Lake City Council when Avon Lake went through its growth spurt back in the mid-'90s, and we always talked about sensible growth, and we always said the growth is coming. It just comes down to wanting to make sure that it's you apply some common sense and it's sensible and makes sense to make sure that the end result is going to be something that in the long run, the community is really going to be happy with. But anytime your community is growing like that, it can be a challenge to get your arms around it. I'm sure even Avon, with all their growth that's taking place, they've got to be very concerned about ongoing infrastructure and demands.
Well, over in Avon, they've just passed, I believe they passed some legislation that prohibits the densities now. They're looking for larger parcels. They're not built out, but a lot of the land that's available is being consumed pretty aggressively. It wouldn't be unrealistic to see buildings slow a lot in Avon with residential in the next few years. But conversely, North Ridgeville, they're seeing 250 plus starts a year down in North Ridgeville. They're building more in the middle class type of neighborhoods. It's a different clientele that's being catered to in North Ridgeville. Columbia Township is kind of unique in my mind. There's a lot of affluent housing out there that's been there for a little while. People don't realize that. Some really nice pocketed neighborhoods, right. I would call them, and some smaller pocketed neighborhoods that are very, very upscale. Now, right. How many people know that there's $1.5 million plus homes, in 3 and 4 clusters out there in small pocketed neighborhoods, and there's some beautiful homes there. A lot of the building now that's coming in is more solid middle class building because the expansion west is coming. The pressures on Columbia Township are from Strongsville, North Olmsted, Olmsted Falls, Olmsted Township, and it's coming down that way. All one has to do is drive Sprague Road and look north. Yep. And they're almost built out up in that area, and it's coming south, and it's coming west, and if we don't get on board with it, we'll be in Strongsville West and North Olmsted Falls, south. Right. So we have to deal with this if we want to maintain the integrity of those communities. That doesn't affect the county. County borders are not able to be changed. Right. But cities can annex across county borders and expand. We already have one city that lies within 2 communities with Vermillion. It would not be unrealistic to think that could happen easily with Strongsville. We've felt that pressure before. It's been dealt with, but we're going to feel that pressure again. I was up in the industrial park at the end of Strongsville, and that park is pretty full.
Been saying it for years. It's
sewers and I don't think they can go anyplace else but west.
Correct.
That industry coming down Route 82, and there's just no sewers down there. We have tried to get sewer agreements from Strongsville to come down 82. They really haven't paid us the time of day. You can generally understand why. They have different expectations and plans for what may happen on 82 than we do. It'll be interesting how this all develops in the next few years, but we need to get the sewers down there, or I know how it's going to end.
Right.
not good for us.
Okay.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement with Geosci Inc., and it's supposed to be an amount of $15,000 for ongoing engineering inspection and materials testing fees necessary to complete the construction of Hunting Meadows subdivision number 2 of Snow Road, Columbia Township.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Accept and journalize 2016 report on bridges. Engineer is responsible for 231 bridges. Completed bridge projects last year included Hughes Road, Jones Road, Middle Ridge Road, Pitts Road, Overland Road, Parsons Road, and the 2017 funded projects are to include Kipton Nickel Plate, Bursley Road, Jones Road, and Folly Road and Snow Road.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Cortez?
I really think I'm enough to say this morning, so I'll yield to council. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis?
Commissioners, I just have some updates on some pending and imminent litigation. If we have time, I can go through those with you.
Commissioners report.
I don't have a lot. I just want to congratulate the Animal Protective League for their fundraiser that they had on Saturday over at Tom's Country Place. It was sold out. They had a great turnout. A lot of, I think they raised a lot of money, and it mostly goes for their sick and injured animals that come through their facility. And Greg Willie over there, he does a great job, and I just want to congratulate them and thank them for a very wonderful evening. End of my report.
Oh, okay. Past week, again, NOAC Governance Committee met discussing again the board seats and changes in ratification. We're still waiting on Geauga County to make some type of decision. It got tabled in the last couple of weeks.
It's been very frustrating for the group because it seems like Geauga's been the ongoing roadblock there, and
Well, there's a
you
new
know,
commissioner there now.
everybody works so well together down there, and it just gets to be frustrating when you can have, unfortunately, you know, I'm just a big believer in government that, you know, if you want to do constructive things, that's good, but if you want to be an obstructionist, that's another thing. And
Well, we've got a new
so-
commissioner, and the other commissioner, Spittle and Larry, were supposed to meet myself as the past governance chair. I chaired the committee for the last 4 years. Dan Troy, the new governance chair, and Grace Galucci to go over. We've sent them a bunch of information in regards to how all the changes have happened over the years. Tim Lillen, I think, is a new commissioner's name. Very nice gentleman, business guy, so hopefully we can get some movement on that. Executive committee met, moving forward all the projects. We worked on some of the changes to the federal regs, some of the language weren't happier things, the disadvantaged communities and stuff like that. I asked to be changed to challenged communities versus being called disadvantaged.
We need more POC speak, right?
Not, yeah, it's still disadvantaged, just doesn't quite do well with your community. Where are you going to, a disadvantaged community? Let's go to a challenged community, a little bit better, but it's all on regards to how we're gonna change the funding. It's where, communities such as our, real urban areas will have the ability, if they've done past practice and maintained some roads, they'll have zero match on the redo of the road, so.
It sounds like alternative facts to me, Commissioner.
Wow.
Fake news?
Fake news,
Wow,
alternative
you
facts.
just called me Kelly Conway.
I'm always stunned that we worry too much about really calling it what it is. And
Well, it's basically language that came down from the feds, and then you're trying to make these other subgroups that they require you from environmental justice, which just means heavy urban, heavy minority, low income. It's called environmental justice. And then you've got the urban, but the way it will benefit in the long run, some of our urban communities with the real old infrastructure, where if they've tried to maintain it using local dollars, when it comes to the rehabs, they won't have to use that 20% match necessarily. It'll be a whole use of the toll credits and everything. So we worked on it for 2-3 years.
2 or 3 years to come up with.
Language to make the feds happy. No kidding. Language to make the feds happy. And then also our project Pheasant Run will be on the governing board's agenda to approve that. The FPA change to LaGrange, which has been a long drawn.
That is on the agenda? I know you told me that
That
we
will
would
be on
move
our
forward, but it's
agenda.
going to be on the agenda?
It'll be on the governing board agenda for approval next month.
Do we see any continued opposition to that?
I do not believe so. It looks like the board will move forward on it.
I think if you ask Mr. Ennis, he may have some update. It's not negative update from LaGrange on that. Jerry, you want to?
Yeah, I met with the LaGrange Township trustees on Monday evening and talked through some things. They are supportive of the project. They just, there were some communication issues that they felt they weren't getting information, so we have been getting them information again so that they are completely aware of what's going on, but they are supportive of the issue at this point in time.
We're not required to have public hearings, but we were having public hearings just to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Okay,
correct?
I just want to put emphasis around the word council used as kindly as it could, again, because we did spend a significant time out there providing everything they seemed to be mad at, they said they didn't have, but Mr. Ennis and myself with some of our staff keenly remember spending at least 3 or 4 hours in the township hall providing all that information and going over the routes and things like that. But regardless, I don't have a problem producing it again and again and again as long as we get cooperation going forward. Let me make this clear. 500 plus residents came to us a few years ago and said help.
Well, their association did.
Well,
And we don't know if the same information is being passed on to those 500 people that,
well, even
discussed
if
with the
we don't know what the
association.
residents know, we know they all need help.
right.
Their plant was failing significantly. It's undersized. There's underutilized lots. There's more cross litigations out there than I've ever seen in my life. Who's suing who? What developer's suing this? Who's suing the HOA? It's been a mess, and it's gotten worse. Right now, I think they're in a quiet period. But on behalf of the residents, they needed to do something. They either needed to spend money they didn't have, massive amount of money they didn't have, to upgrade a package plant that was never really going to be what it needed to be, even upgraded, or to find a permanent solution. They approached Lorco first. It would have been fine if Lorco could have provided a solution to them they found acceptable. Solving the problem is solving the problem. There wasn't an acceptable solution with regard to that at this time with Lorco, and then they approached us, and we worked on their behalf with the village of LaGrange. We worked on an expansion with LaGrange of their plant to service these folks. It's been a long slug. And you're right, Commissioner, I'm not exactly sure what every resident back there knows. We thought it prudent to hold the public hearings. There's going to be assessments. A lot of this will be explained again to the residents. I'm hoping that they're in the loop. They've changed leadership at the association level while we've been going through this. So let me map out in brevity. We're going to do a couple things. First, they have the worst on-site systems in the ground that have been seen by all of our people almost ever. And they've seen some pretty bad stuff. So the sewers that they currently own that are going to come over to us, and the easements are coming over to us, because they'll be our sewers when this is all said and done, need a massive amount of work. That's a lot of the money that's being spent. They need relines, some of them need replacement. We did spend money to help these folks getting ready. We sent cameras in, we did all of that work. There's illegal taps, there's holes, it's just ridiculous. So that's going to be one part of the process that's undertaking. And that doesn't account for some of the older homes out there have failed laterals that need to be dealt with, and that's not included in this process. So that's going to be another big, probably argument, but we're going to go in after we get some of the work done, and we're going to be looking at the laterals that are bringing the I&I in, because we really need to get rid of as much I&I as possible. Also, when this is done, all the water meters are going to be changed, because right now they're on the honor system with their water. They get a bulk watering, and they turn their meter reading in. And so we'll be installing new water meters, but we're still going to bulk buy the water. So we'll have a company drive through the development and read the meters electronically, and then We'll match that with the master meter, because we'll be getting the water from rural water. So they still won't be on individual homes, but we need to meter the water to be able to do the sewer bills. And while that's undergoing, we're going to be building a force main all the way up to LaGrange Village. They're pretty well done, got all their approvals on their expansion, right? In my understanding up there, they've gotten through their hurdles. They got us a little bit behind. I think they thought their process would be a little easier than it ended up being, but they've worked through them. So that's ongoing. Because there was some concerns with the township folks that the additional flow in the Kellner ditch was going to cause problems. We did an extensive walk on Kellner ditch. There was some drainage problems already with the Kellner ditch that appeared to be keeping areas wet. So after walking that, and with the study indicated that there wouldn't be a significant enough impact on discharge to affect the ditch. But after walking the ditch, we found some problems with it. So we have that as a stormwater district project. There's some improvement. Most of the problems with the ditch are the tile that have been installed on the farmland that's undersized so people can get their equipment across to their fields and so forth. So we really need to deal with some of that. We're talking about replacing some of those and doing, what we call, an under-over. The water goes underneath, and it gets to a certain height, it overflows the top to keep flow in the ditch moving. Contrary to urban legend we've heard out somewhere in the townships, we're not digging the ditch deeper and improving it so we can put more flow in it from the Pheasant Run subdivision. I don't know why people invent truth, right? But they do. And
Alternative facts.
I don't know if that's an alternative fact or just inventing a new reality. But we're not. I have the studies. They're available. We provided them, showing the little limited impact that was going to come out of the plant with the additional flow. Now, people go, well, why are we talking about that ditch and Pheasant Run? Pheasant Run's in a different watershed, not watershed, but they're in a different drainage area than where the Range Village package plant is. So technically, yeah, we're importing some water from that area up to be treated at that point. But that happens everywhere. Right. That's how sewer plants work. Because if you didn't do it that way, you need a sewer plant every place where the drainage went a different way. But again, we didn't want to argue. We did the study. We moved on. I have suggested to you, and you all agreed that we should meet with the residents. This is going to be by assessment at the end of the day. And we try to make sure they know what they think they know, and fill in the holes of what they don't know. I'm afraid that what they don't know is probably larger than I'm hopeful for, but this still has to be done. The EPA had them under orders and findings. Not only would they have to have rebuilt the plant, but they would have significant fines. The only thing that's been keeping the EPA at bay is our involvement in the promise and demonstrating that we're working towards a solution aggressively. As you know, we did this back in the 2000s with the EPA. We went from $2.5 million in fines. I worked with that law firm out of Columbus, and every time we did something, we were able to get our fines reduced, and these were fines already assessed.
Those were major projects we did back
Right.
then.
Yeah.
And so we ultimately ended up paying a fine of $250,000. I was hopeful that we'd get it all to go away, but we had to feel a little pain according to them. But we did decrease it by $2.25 million by doing projects and demonstrating our commitment to upgrading.
We inherited that, by the way.
Yes.
You did inherit that. That probably should be clarified. You didn't participate in that downward spiral, but you certainly paid the price to get out of it. And I inherited it too, by the way. I didn't oversee that when it was them. So they would have had to do that. They would have had fines. And so that's the help you provided to them when they asked you to help. The last leg of what we'll be doing is their current package plant will be converted to an equalization tank. It'll be deconstructed to a bit, and that's where the equalization tank will go. Now, an equalization tank means that if everything was running at the same time, we just couldn't handle the flow out on force mains unless you oversize it to a point where it's ridiculous. So we'll be able to store. That's the equalization on site, and then we'll pump at well, we'll be pumping all the time, but At peak times, we'll have that, the tank will take care of the capacity on the line. Now, there's also additionally about 300 lots out there that are potentially buildable. And they've been immersed in litigation several times. The upsize to service those lots is being built into all of this. When those lots are built, the tap-in fee from each one of those lots will go to the association, and they can use it however they want for the benefit of the members, because the members of the association will have paid for that upsize. And you know, there's some qualms about that too. There's some people unhappy about that also, but there's really no other way to do this. I think
Do
we
they
worked.
have an alternative for that situation or no?
Yeah, well, there's always an alternative. You pay for it.
Oh.
I mean, that's always the alternative. No, 95% of the people have a gripe. They never have a solution.
Okay, well, I didn't.
There are those 5% that do come through, and we go, "Wow, we didn't think about that." But it's not customary. It's rather the exception. But this is what we're doing out there. Well, I don't know if Madam Clerk has the assessments yet from the prosecutor's office. Do you have those?
Just got them, yeah.
Are we going
We're
to set
working on them.
we're going to set the dates, and is it going to be soon?
Yeah.
Could you like
Trying to figure out.
help me out a little bit here?
Trying to figure out trying to get 500 in my computer and get either the letters as certified or the postcards if I can go that way, so.
Is this public discussion going to begin first with the images that we've captured of just how poor their infrastructure is, so that the first thing they get to see is just, you know, how bad the whole system is to begin with, and what we're inheriting and what we're trying to help them out with?
We can do a little show and tell.
I think that needs to be done to kind of set the stage. I think once they see the images and they see how bad this infrastructure is, they're hopefully will be much more appreciative of us trying to assist them through this difficult issue.
Well, I warned, you weren't here, Commissioner Lundy, I warned Commissioner Kalo and Commissioner Kokoski that everybody was in love with them when they rode in to help them with this problem, and that they would be sitting on a tar rail with feathers being rode out at the end of the day.
As usual.
0 to 0.
For the
is
job.
what
Zero to zero is what I
0 to
said.
0.
You're a hero now, and by the end of this, you're gonna be a zero. I warned you, that's what happens. I've done these kind of projects in the past.
Not our first rodeo.
It is not. So I don't expect that people are gonna remember that they came to us. I don't expect they're gonna remember their problems. They are keenly aware they got sewer problems down there. They are keenly aware that they have all this litigation down there. And they paid a lot of money to a lot of attorneys, and also they had to deal with the EPA, so they had to bring experts in to deal with the EPA. I think we'll see probably 30% of the residents maybe that are well versed in this. More than likely 30 that won't. They'll just not participate, and then we should we're going to have quite a bit of a group that's going to be very, I anticipate being not wanting to do this, as if they had a choice. And that's what we have to deal with. Yes, Commissioner, we'll prepare presentations, we'll have all that. But I want to stay focused on the fact that they don't have a choice, and that they came to us. We weren't running around looking for people to sell sewer systems to.
But I think when they hear from the experts and then they see, the images of just how bad the system is, that, they realize they probably don't have much of a choice.
I'll see if I can get some of the camera shots,
Yeah.
from when we went through all their on-sites. But, and this is also a good collaborative with LaGrange, getting this done and providing these services out there.
But it's not our rules and regs that are pushing this issue, it's the EPA that's pushing this issue.
Well, the EPA, all the EPA asked them to do is bring their plants up to current standards. I can't really blame the EPA. Now, they have tightened the standards on those things over time, and we've had to spend money to comply. We have several package plants that we operate. Their plant, long before regulations started being tightened, they still weren't in compliance out there. And I remember hearing about them in the 90s when I was young with the county, that there was problems out there and things weren't right, and it became even much more difficult in the 2000s. and maybe we'll see some nice development out there. Again, there's about 300 buildable lots still out there, and there's a lot of land. Now, I will tell you that we're not building any additional capacity to take anything other than the build out in the association. So this is not going to open areas of development out there. I really wish that we had sufficient resources to do that. I think that's what the community needs. I don't like forced mains, but it was the only way to solve this problem for these residents. It's not the best solution for the community. It's the best solution for these eventually 800+ homes. Thank you for all of you've contributed to try to solve these folks' problems. But if you think they're going to be grateful, the grateful ones will stay home, and you'll hear from the discontented ones. You know this. You've been down that road, Commissioners.
Okay. Also, Lorain County Solid Waste Policy Committee met, meeting in regards to organics project with surrounding counties to feed us with organics. That was starting yesterday. We've got to start a plan update once again. There's all kinds of changes at the state level. There's a new management group they've put together with only one solid waste policy.
You want to talk about that, what we're doing with that organics a little bit? I'm not sure we're going to finish it, but we got a good process ongoing.
Sure, yeah, we've got an assessment going on to see if there's actually true need for the organics facility where you need food waste contributed along with organic waste or yard waste to turn into a sellable product, compost, mulch, whatever.
City of Illyria's yard waste, if we can do something in conjunction with that.
Well, that's being discussed, but also meeting with Medina County, Ashland County, Summit County, and Cuyahoga County, because we need food waste to come in also to make that happen. And some of those communities have it, but they're having a hard time taking it anywhere because there's no direct drop-off. It's one of the reasons Rumpke doesn't have a yard waste program. There's no disposal area for it within the county really for them. They made a stab at this once. Out at, they were going to, well, we know what happened. Right.
It didn't go well, and the whole thing was ill-conceived.
Organics Project 2.0.
Well, recognizing that on your request, Commissioner, I've taken that project under my wing. We have a nice process established. We have timelines and how we want to complete this. We were able to capture a large piece of land up on Baumhart Road at no cost. It significantly needed remediation. It's been sitting unused and damaged for a number of years. The city of Lorain had at first indicated that they wanted to cross us on the litigation and take the property themselves for their transportation department, but we agreed. They left the foreclosure litigation and allowed us to take it, and we allowed them to take a look at the property. But when they saw the extensive issues with it, it was not feasible for them. So we have been working on the property. Don, we're on a phase 2 now, right? And you're coming up. You're doing the tanks, and we're going to see if we can pump off that water from those old fuel tanks.
Correct. We've just finished a water analysis to determine whether there was any leakage from the tanks. We're still waiting on final approval from US EPA. It's $180,000 to do approximately a tank closure report, which in order to do the tank closure, we actually have to remove the tanks, and so that is how we would be able to basically have the property remediated and ready to go using the federal grant.
So we're working. We got the property for zero, and in the tax foreclosure it was extensively behind, never going to be redeveloped. We did the phase 1 with federal grant money. Correct. And we're working on some of these remediation issues. My only problem was I was hoping that we'd be able not to have to take those tanks out of the ground because they're concreted in. And one of the things that drew me to the site was all that surface concrete, because we need that for the organics. Because but it is what it is. The investment's not going to be huge, and we may be able to get federal monies to pull those tanks. Maybe.
Yes, that's exactly what we're waiting on right now. Is final word on a budget transfer for us.
So we're trying to pull all these various pieces together into one project, and and as you know, Commissioner, at the end of the day, we'll be bringing in, hopefully, if the study demonstrates that we have enough supply stream,
Correct, that's what it's about.
and that was what was the problem with all the initial attacks on this. And I think that with the interest from the outlying communities, that we're gonna see this go more to a regional approach rather than just a Lorain County solution, which I really like those things if it works. We just gotta make sure the proper agreements are in place so we don't end up with a facility that doesn't have enough source material. We'll move on with that, and we'll decrease the overall cost of what we would have had to do by using outside monies to get the property right. But we still will have to spend about $1 million to $1.5 million of solid waste funds for equipment and et cetera. At that point, we'll enter into an agreement with a private business to operate the facility and hopefully generate some revenue from the facility and to bring some of those costs back that we've had outlays on. And so that's going to make a good private-public partnership, but that's the last leg. I'm really encouraged that we'll probably get there, but this is really needed, and it will also create jobs in the city of Lorain. That's an important aspect that we shouldn't overlook. There's going to be, it's not a huge amount, I bet you at best guess less than a dozen, but it's still jobs in the city of Lorain, and it's repurposing a piece of abandoned property that has significant contamination on it. So
Correct, it has no hope of ever being redone unless it's remediated with these dollars, so.
these are all the things we quietly do, Commissioner.
Also, the state's, as I started to say, a new materials management advisory council in regards to solid waste. There's only one solid waste person on the committee. We do have a municipal representative from Lorain County. Jennifer Fender, Bosch from Avon Lake is a municipal representative who's been involved with us in renewable energy. But again, seeing what the rules will come down as to what we have to or.
Are they going to, is the state still attempting to take control of the local?
No, that has died a slow death. We're not being combined currently or.
'Cause, I mean, there was a real.
That was a real threat a couple years ago. I think that's passed. This is now this new materials management advisory. Actually, the person who's chairing it runs a large construction company, goes C&D stuff, construction and demolition debris, is chairing it. But they meet monthly in Columbus. GT Environmental is always there, making sure they're advising on what the issues are in regards to solid waste, but participation from advisory committee members is always encouraged. So that's the end of my report.
We're out
I
of
didn't know
time.
he was going to talk that long.
We're out of time for you, Commissioner Lundy. We gotta.
Yeah, sorry, time's up.
We're out of time. Continue next week or the online meeting, you can
TBD.
see it. So, enjoyed the brunch with a farmer, which was held by the Farm Bureau on Saturday at Lorain County Community College. Great turnout. A lot of good conversation about our local farmers and what they're doing to get the products to market. I was thinking when everybody was going out for their Valentine's Day dinner, they needed to be thanking the farmers for all those great meals that were on the table yesterday, but very well organized and very well attended. Also enjoyed attending the WAGs to Riches event, the Friendship APL do amazing work, and Commissioner, I know you're very involved with that, and we definitely enjoy working in partnership with them, and they raise a boatload of money at that event, I know that. Had a lot of people in the room, but a lot of people certainly doing good things to help protect the animals in the community. Thursday night, we have the Lorain County Township Association meeting, which I'll be attending, and also we're getting started with our consultants for the lakefront planning process, so we're excited about that. I got to tell you, we've had a great partnership with our lakefront communities and the mayors of looking at how we want to strategically do some planning for the lakefront, grant that the commissioners, the Board of Commissioners made possible in conjunction with the Metro Parks. Also want to thank Lisa Hobart, our budget director, for uploading all that information so that we can be more transparent than ever before to the open.gov, and that's something that we talked about a couple years ago, and but we're regularly updating the information, and takes a lot of time. Like Lisa doesn't have enough things to do, but she got all the information in there. See, you're on camera right now. Smile. But she does a great job of keeping us up on all the numbers. But so, I know folks are always saying, what's the government doing with my money? Well, now all you need to do is go to our website, and you can see how all that is being managed and worked with. So also wanted to say happy birthday to somebody here at the board on February 18th. I understand it's a national holiday. We won't ask you how old you are, but
40.
40, yeah.
You were 40 for how many years?
I had an annual 40th birthday every year for a lot of years. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. People like to know where their funds go that we bring back to the county.
Let's see. This is
What I circled.
yeah. We have 51,683 Medicaid recipients with 128 different types of categories of Medicaid
In Lorain County.
in Lorain County. Wow.
Think about our population's 300,
Right.
305,000. Almost 52,000 people are receiving some form of assistance.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mary Lou sent it over to me. It's a very interesting statistic when people wonder about dollars and where they go, and they do a great job at Job and Family Services. I'm always pleased to work with Mary Lou and her team, and as is now common knowledge, she'll be departing us later in the spring. Her sage leadership of that organization goes fairly underappreciated. I've worked with her for 23 plus years. I've always been satisfied, and we've always been able to reach some conclusions. We've not always agreed, but we've always got things done. And I trust her and her people. And you can see that there's a lot of work being done and a lot of services being provided to people over there. And sometimes they're not the nicest people, even when you're trying to help them.
Right. Well, I know, when you look at the state budget out of about $33 billion a year, about $14 billion now, I think, actually goes for Medicaid. So it's programs impacting a lot of people, and she does great work over there. That's a huge loss for our county and our organization. But boy, she's always been on top of things, and those are going to be some big shoes to fill. That's for sure. That completes my report.
Board correspondence.
Move to approve the board correspondence and waive the reading.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Public comment.
Anybody wishing to address the board? I saw some people in the back that I had never seen before, but they left. They must have got bored with us, so. Anybody wishing to address the board this morning? Seeing none, I move that we go into executive session as outlined by the administrator and assistant county prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.
We load up an 18-foot trailer, rugs, cables, audio-video equipment, sound systems, all the lighting. Then we have the task of hauling everything out of the trailer and taking it into the gymnasium or lunchroom or whatever large multi-purpose room they have for us. We're generally there for the whole day. If we're going to be back at the school the next day, we can leave our equipment still set up. If we're going to be at a different school the next day, then we have the job of removing it from the multi-purpose room and taking it back to the trailer, loading up the trailer and locking it up and calling it quits for the day. It started in January 2007 with CERTS, which is Safe Routes to School. And Ken had an idea to develop the Safety Star program. It has escalated to the point where, as of this year's date, we have seen 60,000 students in Lorain County.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the streets safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations, and to educate these children on walking, crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce.
We bring safety to the school. We're self-contained. We have all the mock simulations of scenarios such as busy intersections. We have all the roads, movie screens, our audio-video system, streets, sidewalks, grass, working traffic signals, working railroad signals, and we bring that all to the school so the student does not have to leave. To make sure that all the lights, bulbs are working. And that all the audio video equipment is up and running. We then put on the program. We put together a dynamite program with a lot of positivity. We're very animated. The students enjoy it while they're learning an important rule about safety. When we ask questions, we ask for group participation. It's never just one student answering the question, it's everybody answering the question together.
Are you ready?
Teachers included. We make learning fun for everybody. We show two short films. One is Willie the Whistle, and Willie the Whistle teaches kids in a simple format the correct way to walk with parents, aunts or uncles, or any other family members that are responsible adults to cross streets where there are no stop signs or where it's just stop signs and no traffic lights, and to cross streets where there are parked cars, what to look for, when to cross, when there are cars parked along the sides of the street. And again, it's all basically looking left, right, and left. When the short film is over, we generally teach from what the kids just watched. And those are the scenarios then we go over with our mock setup. We go over basically what the video has just gone over. And then we let the kids apply what they just learned to doing it in real life to our mock simulation that we have in the room that we are performing in. Everybody leaves at the end of our program with a great feeling, knowing that all they have to do is look left, right, and left again, and they're going to be smiling for a good long time. I would highly recommend this program to all administrative principals in every school system. And it's a very good program. I believe in it 100%. I've had students see me at the mall or see me at a carnival or a festival and come up and say, "I remember you. You're the safety guy. You're Mr. Neal." And the first question I ask them, what are the 3 ways you look before you cross the street? This could be the year after we saw them, and they always say left, right, and left again, and they say it with a smile. So I know our program works.
Because you did a good job today, at the end of the day, you're going to get to go home with the yellow Safety Star bag.
Okay? The fun part. The students get to take home their surprise at the end of the day, which is the yellow Safety Star bag. And inside that bag are some neat things about pedestrian safety. We have the pedestrian safety flashcards. They also will get the Safety Star Certificate of Participation, which has their school name on it and the date. And we like to let the kids know that that's something that they can take home and hang on their refrigerator, they can hang on their bedroom door, or they can have their parents put it in a scrapbook for them. Their parents will receive some information such as the top 10 safety tips for adults, because even as adults we need to refresh our memories on safety. They, as students, will receive the top 10 Safety Star tips for students. They will also receive a Safety Star maze for those that are a little bit more adventurous and like a challenge. We also offer a safety coloring sheet. And there are some other things in the bag, but the things the kids like the most is the Safety Star pencil. And that's a pencil that changes colors when you touch it. And with that pencil comes the Safety Star eraser, which is a yellow eraser shaped like a star, and it says Safety Star on it. We need 40-foot by 40-foot area, electrical accessibility, and then a way to turn off and on the main lights of the room for our movies that we show. The smallest class we've done is 15 students. The largest class is 60. So usually the classes range from 23 to 25 students per class. There are occasions where the school has to schedule 2 classes at a time. We're very flexible. We do have the ability to fit into smaller rooms, so we pretty much will accommodate to what they can offer. I would highly recommend this program to all principals in every school system. At the end of the day, I feel very, very good. I'm excited that I know that kids are going to practice what they've learned, and I can go home and sleep good at night knowing that those children are going to get to school safely, they're going to get home safely, they're going to be smiling, and their parents are going to be smiling because everybody is safe.
They're doing drugs.
It's easy to start, and it's painful to stop.
Prescription drugs are a prescription for a reason. If you take too many of a prescription narcotic, you die.
Chelsea was very well liked by her friends and by her teachers.
Ronnie was going down to Tennessee State to be the next player to come out of Tennessee State.
Joey was extremely popular, just surrounded by friends.
Mark was an athletic, fit-looking kid.
Aaron enjoyed talking and debating with any and all people.
The prescription pain pill problem is a huge epidemic.
This is an epidemic.
This is an epidemic that is infiltrated our young people.
We never had a conversation with Joey about prescription drugs because we truly had no idea that there was any kind of recreational use going on.
How many guys know it's not used by anyone?
The first time I started doing painkillers was when I was 17.
I would steal pills from my friend's mom. Her stepmom had a script for Vicodin. That was like heaven. I went in her room and stole Vicodin every day.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes, and he'd go in there and go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
These medications are available everywhere in every socioeconomic environment.
Ronnie was the starting halfback, one of our best players. He got several scholarship offers.
Ronnie was very popular in the neighborhood.
Ronnie was a neat freak, clean freak, always had his hair braided. When he got into the pill use, his mood changed. He changed, like, was that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde?
Ronnie's appearance really deteriorated, and it was really unlike him.
I said, "Are you doing drugs?" And my son looked at me with these eyes of, "How could you even think of that, Mom?"
I was walking up to football practice. My coach was walking towards me. He just had this crazy look on his face. He goes, "You think they might have found your brother?" And I was like, to me, I was like goofing. I was like, I didn't know he went missing. So I was like making her like goofing off. And he was like, "No, Justin, seriously, they might have found his body." And I was like, "Wait a minute." I was like, "Whoa, what?" He's like, "Yeah, they discovered a body in an apartment in Telford."
I never thought my son would take prescription drugs without a prescription.
Parents often trip themselves up
by asking a simple question. Are you using drugs? No. One has to be able to say, I'm seeing some signs here that concern me.
He was a little bit more argumentative. We thought that was maybe hormones.
The person has what we call pinpoint pupils. Literally, the pupils look like a pinpoint.
She slept odd hours.
We didn't know why he was sleeping so late.
If I wasn't able to get high, then I didn't want to get out of bed because, the physical withdrawals.
We were missing tinfoil from the kitchen, missing spoons.
We'd find the pens that were cut in half.
Straws.
There were a lot of charges coming on the credit cards.
We thought that there was somebody stealing money out of her account.
That's probably a pretty good clue there's something going on. Joey was pretty upset with his roommates. They were spending all their money on medication. Had I known that the medications that they were taking were so dangerous, I would have told them, you're not even going back to that place.
If you feel something's going on, you got to investigate.
I thought it was just a phase. We partied when we were in high school, and it's just sort of a phase you go through as you grow, experience life, and you grow out of it. And I thought he was on that track.
Joey had been found and he was unconscious.
He had all these medications that he had just received from this doctor. More than likely, he crushed and snorted it. We're just being completely hit blindly by, a situation we had absolutely no understanding of and no notice of. And in the meantime, my husband's in the house. I'm out front in the front of the house, just, wondering what we're dealing with here. And so finally, Joe just came out and said he's gone.
I was downstairs getting ready for work. Cookie told me she couldn't get Mark up. Mark was powerful and had the nickname in some circles of Tank. I reminded her that what she had to do was get a cup of water and splash him with it and stay out of his way. And she told me it was different. We found a clear plastic bag of loose pills. I'm not sure if he even thought he was doing drugs, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's not like it was heroin or cocaine. We followed the ambulance to the hospital. A few minutes later, someone came in and told us that Mark was dead. We never thought that was a possibility. I had no idea that kids were abusing medicine.
I came home one night, saw the basement light on, and went up to the window, and my son was crushing and snorting the pills.
We would find pills in the shoes, in the jackets that are hanging in the closet, in the pockets.
I found some pills hidden under his cushion.
They were in his socks. I never checked my kid's socks.
He took the light switch plate off and put them in there.
Look everywhere. Is it an invasion? No. You're doing the right thing as a parent.
I would question Chelsea, and she would always assure me that everything is fine and nothing's wrong.
Kids don't want to get in trouble, so they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear.
There was always something down deep inside that said to me, something's wrong. You doubt yourself because you wonder if you're making a bigger deal out of something.
Maybe deep down my parents knew that I was high.
You can't always believe your child. Their lies get bigger when they're trying to hide substance abuse.
I knew her inside and out, and I remember Chelsea as the little girl that she used to be.
I looked at him and I only saw the most beautiful son in the world.
It was very difficult to think that she would be lying to me, which she was. She was out using and abusing prescription drugs.
Long-acting agents like OxyContin are meant to be delivered in the body over a period of hours, if not a day. If they're chewed, crushed, and snorted, you get the entire dose at one blast, and if the body's not ready to accommodate that, you will stop breathing.
We needed to call the police. But what are the neighbors going to think?
Put all of that aside and focus on what's important, as difficult as it may be.
Families can't get too caught up in the idea that there may be an arrest charge of my son or daughter. They could be in jail. They could be in the morgue.
The law saved my life. If my mom hadn't called the cops on me, I don't know where I would be right now.
It was the most difficult thing to do, to call the police on your own child. It was horrible. I have gone from putting importance on things like what college are you going to get into, to just celebrating the fact that she's alive today. She's doing very well. She's clean and sober. She's productive. She's sweet. And I have her back, and I'm thankful. And it's wonderful.
Aaron had spent the night at a friend's, and they found him blue and non-responsive. They took him to a local hospital.
He was using Vicodin, which we found out through his toxicology, what was in his blood system.
I witnessed him have 2 heart attacks in ICU. He had staph, he had pneumonia, he went through seizures. The doctor was explaining to us that he was going to die. We held his hands on each side and we started crying, and he just laid there.
People use the medications in an abusive way, not knowing what the full consequences are, and somebody ends up here.
Within 24 hours, Aaron had opened his eyes.
Parents are the first line of defense in terms of prescription drug abuse.
You gotta sit your kids down. You just gotta tell them about the severity of the problem.
There's a number of steps that you can take.
Educate your child and yourself very early.
Anybody who feels that this can't happen to my child,
it could happen to your kid.
Make sure that you don't have excess pills in your home.
Keep your medication locked up because you're never going to notice if something's gone.
What my mom does is she has these take-home pee tests that I gotta take. No, I want to keep my mom proud of me, and I don't want to let her down.
You need to have the conversation with them about drug and substance abuse, and you need to include prescription drugs and guide them so they're able to get through their high school years and into college and through their college years drug-free.
Have this conversation before it's too late to have this conversation.
The United States of America is writing a prescription for pain that is wiping young people like me off the map. Our addiction to legally prescribed pain pills, like oxycodone or hydrocodone, is leading a lot of us straight to heroin. That's because prescription painkillers and heroin are both opioids. So when we can't get a refill, heroin is the only way to stop our pain or to get the same high. And heroin's less expensive and easier to get. I can have black tar heroin delivered to my house faster than a pizza. Once we start, we have to keep using. Not for the high, but because we get sick from withdrawal if we try to stop. It's an epidemic. We're rich, poor, and middle class. We're from farms, cities, and suburbs. We're from families who had big hopes that we'd live healthy lives and not fall so far from such a high.
We load up an 18-foot trailer, rugs, cables, audio-video equipment, sound systems, all the lighting. Then we have the task of hauling everything out of the trailer and taking it into the gymnasium or lunchroom or whatever large multi-purpose room they have for us. We're generally there for the whole day. If we're going to be back at the school the next day, we can leave our equipment still set up. If we're going to be at a different school the next day, then we have the job of removing it from the multi-purpose room and taking it back to the trailer, loading up the trailer, and locking it up and calling it quits for the day. It started in January 2007 with CERTS, which is Safe Routes to School. And Ken had an idea to develop the Safety Star program. It has escalated to the point where, as of this year's date, we have seen 60,000 students in Lorain County.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the streets safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations and educate these children on crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce.
We bring safety to the school. We're self-contained. We have all the mock simulations of scenarios such as busy intersections. We have all the roads, movie screens, our audio-video system, streets, sidewalks, grass, working traffic signals, working railroad signals, and we bring that all to the school so the student does not have to leave. To make sure that all the lights, bulbs are working. And that all the audio video equipment is up and running. We then put on the program We put together a dynamite program with a lot of positivity. We're very animated. The students enjoy it while they're learning an important rule about safety. When we ask questions, we ask for group participation. It's never just one student answering the question, it's everybody answering the question together.
Are you ready?
Teachers included. We make learning fun for everybody. We show two short films. One is Willie the Whistle, and Willie the Whistle teaches kids in a simple format the correct way to walk with parents, aunts or uncles, or any other family members that are responsible adults to cross streets where there are no stop signs or where it's just stop signs and no traffic lights, and to cross streets where there are parked cars, what to look for, when to cross, when there are cars parked along the sides of the street. And again, it's all basically looking left, right, and left. When the short film is over, we generally teach from what the kids just watched. And those are the scenarios then we go over with our mock setup. We go over basically what the video has just gone over. And then we let the kids apply what they just learned to doing it in real life to our mock simulation that we have in the room that we are performing in. Everybody leaves at the end of our program with a great feeling, knowing that all they have to do is look left, right, and left again, and they're going to be smiling for a good long time. I would highly recommend this program to all administrative principals in every school system. And it's a very good program. I believe in it 100%. I've had students see me at the mall or see me at a carnival or a festival and come up and say, "I remember you. You're the safety guy. You're Mr. Neal." And the first question I ask them, what are the 3 ways you look before you cross the street? This could be the year after we saw them, and they always say left, right, and left again, and they say it with a smile. So I know our program works.
Because you did a good job today, at the end of the day, you're going to get to go home with the yellow safety star bag.
The fun part. The students get to take home their surprise at the end of the day, which is the yellow safety star bag. And inside that bag are some neat things about pedestrian safety. We have the pedestrian safety flashcards. They also will get the Safety Star Certificate of Participation, which has their school name on it and the date. And we like to let the kids know that that's something that they can take home and hang on their refrigerator, they can hang on their bedroom door, or they can have their parents put it in a scrapbook for them. Their parents will receive some information such as the top 10 safety tips for adults, because even as adults, we need to refresh our memories on safety. They, as students, will receive the top 10 Safety Star tips for students. They will also receive a Safety Star maze for those that are a little bit more adventurous and like a challenge. We also offer a safety coloring sheet. And there are some other things in the bag, but the things the kids like the most is the Safety Star pencil. And that's a pencil that changes colors when you touch it. And with that pencil comes the Safety Star eraser, which is a yellow eraser shaped like a star, and it says Safety Star on it. We need 40-foot by 40-foot area, electrical accessibility, and a way to turn off and on the main lights of the room for our movies that we show. The smallest class we've done is 15 students. The largest class is 60. So usually the classes range from 23 to 25 students per class. There are occasions where the school has to schedule 2 classes at a time. We're very flexible. We do have the ability to fit into smaller rooms, so we pretty much will accommodate to what they can offer. I would highly recommend this program to all principals in every school system. At the end of the day, I feel very, very good. I'm excited that I know that kids are going to practice what they've learned, and I can go home and sleep good at night knowing that those children are going to get to school safely, they're going to get home safely, they're going to be smiling, and their parents are going to be smiling because everybody is safe.
Lifesaver 1 to all units. Lifesaver 1 to all units. We have a mission. I say again, we have a mission.
Contact, Las Gavianas, Country Club Boulevard.
I have participated myself in over 140 Project Lifesaver searches. We've never lost anybody. We've always found them within an average of 30 minutes or less. And that has been repeated across the nation 1,350 times as of today.
She shaves his face, she combs his hair, she helps him find his rock.
Rather than having one or two within several thousand that are born with autism, the last statistics that came out was 1 in every 166 births was autistic. Looking at the Alzheimer's statistics, you're talking about, right now you've got around 5 million Alzheimer's patients. Well, they say in 30 years that number is going to triple to 15 million. Why is that? Because the baby boomers are starting to come into that age where Alzheimer's starts to strike.
Cooks his meals, she wipes his mouth, and the window that he's looking out, she reads.
As we're sitting there, you can see the relief in their eyes that they know there's something out there that's going to give them peace of mind, that they're not going to have to every single minute of the day worry that their loved ones are going to wander off and possibly die. Our program is so successful, and the efforts we put when we talk to the clients and to their caregivers, they can see that we care, and they can see that in the history of the program is that we're successful.
His name, oh, every day is much the same. She sighs that sigh from deep within.
If somebody wanders off, a call will come in by our emergency pagers. Every responder has a pager, and when the page goes off, we call the number that's on our pager and find out who's wandered, what the situation is, how long they've been gone, what they were wearing, and then we'll send out another page to all the responders telling them that it's time, we have a mission, we have to respond.
Each transmitter has its own particular frequency. So we're tracking that person and not someone else. If that person happens to wander off, the caregiver is given a predetermined number to contact us. We will ask them a couple of questions. One of them is, where did you last see them and how long ago? Because that's going to be the focal point or where we start our search, at the point last seen. All of our responders will start responding to that area. They will have tuned in the frequency from that transmitter. They'll move into the area. Once they pick up that signal, they'll start triangulating on it until they move right into where the person is, or the signal gets stronger and stronger. They pick them up and bring them back home. So it's not a real complicated system. Therefore, it works well.
The vehicles allow us to cover the ground to get there a whole lot quicker. Once we get close into the area and the signal is very strong, we feel like we're right near the person, then we can get out of the vehicle, hook up another antenna, and go to ground, is what we call it. Get out of the vehicle and start searching on ground and slowly go in and find the individual.
If too much time goes by, these receivers only work for about half a mile on the ground. And at that point, if they're deep into the woods or have just wandered off, you don't know where to start and you don't know which direction they went, and you may not pick up that signal on the ground. That's the point that they would call us in. And with the aircraft, we obviously have a several mile range, and we can cover a lot of ground very quickly.
A situation in their family, through no fault of their own, have a loved one that has developed the tendency to wander because of dementia, Alzheimer's, or the like. They need to be protected by this
program. This is a program that affords the protection that they need. We know that they do everything that they can in their own security measures, but having this program and having this bracelet that they wear can afford them the additional protection that we can bring their loved one home.
Would you want somebody there to help them if you couldn't be there? And I think Project Lifesaver accomplishes that.
It gives law enforcement a tremendous tool to help protect our elderly and the young that are at risk.
They need to be brought home. They deserve to be brought home, and they deserve that dignity.